Video. Okay. So the video's on. And stop the audio. 3, 2. Today's guest on the Special Chronicles podcast is April M. Whitt, the author of a children's book series called Private Eye, Romey Riley. And after years of working with the students who have disabilities, she saw a need to produce some positive and entertaining books that featured kids with special needs. Welcome to the Special Chronicles.
Nice to be here with you.
So let's have you begin with introducing yourself to our listeners, or viewers, if anyone's watching the video.
All right. Well, it's nice to have a chance to talk to all of you. I am a teacher. I've worked with special needs students for about 15 years now, and I started a book series after noticing that our kids enjoyed funny books, and a lot of the popular books and stories that are on the market today just really don't feature kids in wheelchairs or kids with special needs very much. And as I looked around, I just didn't see anything that I thought really represented them, or very little. There's some good stuff out there, but very little of it. And so I came up with the idea of Romey Riley to give something fun. You know, it didn't just have to be educational and just, you know, feelings-ish or something, but just fun. I wanted a book for fun to represent my kids.
Neat. So, how did you get started with writing this series?
Well, it started with the first book, and that is subtitled "The Boy Who Saw Too Much." The character Romeo, he's a fictional character, but he's kind of made up of a lot of people that I've known over the years, and maybe a little bit myself too. Because Romeo is a real person in a lot of ways. He's kind of goofy. He makes mistakes sometimes, and I think that's why people identify with him, because we all make goofy mistakes. And he's kind of, I call him the world's first bumbling detective in a wheelchair, because, and we have the books, and I guess people by radio can't see, but this is Romeo here, and this is the cover. But I just started out with him. In the first book, actually, he discovers that his principal's office has been toilet papered, and he also had been peeking through a hole in the bathroom, and he sees writing on the wall, and he kind of puts these things together, and he decides then that he's going to be a detective and figure out who's toilet papered the principal's office, and in the process he gets into a lot of goofy mischief, and it's a lot of fun, but he always comes out smelling like a rose, no matter how much mess he gets into.
Neat. So, what do you see as the inspiration for these books? For wanted to write them, and for your readers, what do you see as the inspiration for having a Romeo and the characters with disabilities?
Well, I wanted to give more of a voice, and just to, like I was saying, I felt like my kids, my students, were able to enjoy a funny book, but I felt like, gee, you know, their lives are so much different, though. When you're reading about a kid jumping on a skateboard, and a lot of my kids were in wheelchairs, and, you know, just doing things that some of my students wouldn't be able to do, I thought, why couldn't there be a book that's just as much fun as this one, but has characters like you guys? And I felt like, you know, it was that maybe I could be a voice for this disabled community, and that they can have a book character that they can just enjoy, that they can just have fun with, that they can laugh at and laugh with.
Yeah.
And maybe someday there'll be a movie even, because I'm surprised we don't have one. We should have some superhero guy flying around in a wheelchair shooting Martians or something, and I'm surprised it's not there. But anyway, I just wanted to create something like that, even though he doesn't fly around shoot.
Yeah. That would be neat if there was a movie that was based on these characters, and so why did you want to write this series? So those 3 books in the series, right?
That's right.
So
right in the second book is it's all Romeo is the main character in all of them, and the second one they're all Private Eye Romey Riley, the series. But the second one is he is running for student council president, and I spoof our election process a little bit in this also. But he goes to quite a bit of trouble. In fact, he ends up in the dumpster and into quite a few other messes because he realized there's a crooked campaign going on. And he has a lot of fun, and so will you if you read it, as he figures out what's going on and solves the problem. And then you kind of wonder, who's going to win the election. And I won't give that away. You have to read the book. There's a view from inside. And the most current one that I have is The Sneaky Santa Sabotage. This is a Christmas story. And this is based on, where I teach is a center school. And that's another whole subject we may want to talk about. Yeah. But we really do it up quite a bit for Christmas. And we usually have a Santa that comes, a local restaurant puts this on for us. But, of course, I hammed it up quite a bit more because there's also a crooked Santa who steals a diamond bracelet and the kid's bag of toys. And so Romeo goes to great lengths to retrieve the stolen goods and kind of ends up flying through the sky like Rudolph. And you'll want to read that one, too, to see how he comes out of all that. Yeah.
So what ages are these books geared for, or is it geared for all ages, or?
Well, kind of. It's probably it is about a 3rd to 4th grade reading level, but the character is about 12, and so I had hoped that maybe your reluctant reader kids that maybe were a little bit older would enjoy the easy read and the enjoyment of it. It's a fast momentum, and I also hope that all families of people with special needs and even the adults could at least enjoy it. I mean, my adult friends tell me they enjoy Romeo and his antics. So, it's there to represent in a lighter way kids with special needs. I know it isn't fun to have a disability, but I also know lots of people with disabilities who like to have fun. Yeah. And and it's just for acceptance too, for everybody else to, maybe somebody that doesn't understand that someone's in a wheelchair, that they're just a regular person too. Even though they may look a little different in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of those things are in there.
Yeah. So what type of disabilities do the characters have?
Romeo has cerebral palsy, and like I said, now my experience, I'm working in a center school setting, and I know that there's quite a bit of talk about inclusion going on, and I am not opposed to inclusion, but because I really debated about what kind of a setting to put my story in. But I went ahead with a center school type setting because that's what I'm most familiar with. but I believe that the school should be available to, the regular school should be available to anyone who really wants to be there. If the parents believe and the student believes that's the best setting for them, then I think the school should pull out all the stops to accommodate that person. But also, I believe the center school has its place too, for kids that need more of a restricted environment. And our parents are happy with us, and we still try to have our school out in the community and, doing as much of the things that the regular school does, as much as we can. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. So, is the loading school can you talk about that?
I'm sorry. What kind of school?
Can you talk about the unloading school where you work? Is it?
Oh, the school where I am?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Just for kids with special needs, or?
Yes, we have. It's a small school. It's a public school, but we only have about 100 kids, and we're able to staff, like, we have kind of a 3-to-1 ratio of 3 adults per student. Mostly, I work with a lot of kids that have CP or related, conditions that are similar. But I have also worked with kids with autism and kids with other abilities as well as disabilities. And our school has a variety of kids, but everybody, we are a trained facility that can deal with kids with that have a more serious problems that might have a harder time going to a regular public school.
Yeah.
We try to give them everything that a regular school would, except that they get a little more attention, I think, and we're able to pool our resources and share ideas and things, and I feel like we give our kids something better because of that.
Yeah. Good. So back now to the books. What do you hope that readers will learn from Romey's adventures and from reading the stories?
Well, that's a good question. What do I hope they will learn? Because I think I mostly set out to just, bring more positive light on kids with disabilities, and I wanted to entertain them. I wanted to give them something that they could sit down and laugh at and say, hey, he's kind of like me. We're so often, I think, because all of our special needs kids love Disney movies and all these things just like any other kid, but there's usually, you don't see a kid in a wheelchair and that kind of thing too much. It's getting better. But as far as what they would learn, maybe just to accept each other a little better and your own self, and learn how to laugh at yourself a little more, maybe. And most things that bother you or get you upset, usually after a while it'll be all right, and you'll end up laughing about it later most of the time.
Yeah, good. So, is the character based on any of your students, or can you? How did you come up with
the character?
The character of Romeo and the other characters in the books.
He's kind of based on, I got the name Romeo, even though everyone's heard of Romeo, but we had a student a few years ago whose name is really Jerome, but his nickname is Romey because he liked to roam all around, and but Romey wasn't able to speak, but he had a great sense of humor, and he used his talk box and record jokes and things on there. So it's really kind of, that's where the name came from, and kind of the idea of Romey kind of turned into Jerome. Turned into Romeo. And I don't know, is some of the other just developed? I've been a writer all my life, and I mainly write for children, and it's just kind of where my worlds came together, I guess, because I've been a teacher too, and some of the things I tried writing I just wasn't that happy with, but and I had tried writing maybe some nonfiction about special needs, but I wasn't that happy with it. And somehow, when it was actually after I had been writing some goofy emails to some of the students at school who had email accounts, and I started making silly stories about some of them. Anyway, so it was born out of that I just thought of writing something funny and kind of came up with the idea of him being a detective, and just started writing the first line, really, and built on it from there.
Yeah, neat. So, did you have to do a lot of research to write the book? So,
a little bit. I had looked up some things about like Dynavoxes and things like that, but I know I couldn't use that term. You have to be careful name brands. Although I see them at school, and I've played with them, and I've worked with kids that use them, and there's all kinds of different neat things out there that someone can use if they're nonverbal to be able to communicate. And but I check. You have to check some facts. I mean, some of the beauty of writing fiction is you can just kind of make it up as you go. But I do have to check some things and be careful that I don't say something that I'm not supposed to say.
Yeah. Good. So, can you give us an overview of each of the 3 books, and also do you have plans for other books in the series of other adventures that movie will go on?
Well, I do hope to. We just have the 3 for now, and I wanted to get 3 because I felt like it felt complete. We kind of wanted to have a complete series. But I do have an idea for Romeo and the Secret Admirer, like kind of a Valentine story. But we'll see, because I'm not working on that right now. I'm actually working on something else that's not Romeo, but for kids. And but it kind of depends on if people want it. If I find that people really ask for more, I will try, because I think Romeo's got some more adventures in him.
Yeah. Good.
And I'm working on my webpage too, hoping to have it a little interactive. So you guys will have to look it up. It's just if you'll just put in Romey Riley the Series, you'll find it.
All right.
And it's just www.romeyrileytheseries.com.
Okay.
And you can find it.
Sounds good. So, where can our listeners, I guess viewers or listeners, because if they're watching, then they can hear this too. Where can they go to purchase the books? Is it on Amazon?
They are on Amazon, and also I'll have them on my webpage. And they're not in the bookstores, but Amazon, yes.
Okay. I'll make sure to put links to that on SCPInterview.com
That'd be great.
with this podcast. Is there any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, maybe just this was a dream of mine to be a writer, and of course it's a little later in life for me, but I've had a great career working with kids, and I don't plan on ever retiring from writing as long as I'm here. But I encourage you, even with obstacles in your path, to pursue your dreams. Sometimes it takes longer than you think, or it might be harder than you expect, but don't give up. And I think you'll see some fruit eventually if you keep at it.
Good.
Lots of prayers too. Lots of prayer.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank you again for taking the time to come on the Social Chronicles podcast.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Let me stop the audio, okay. And I'm going to go ahead and